Hi, I'm Dani from Brazier Bakery. I am going to show you how to make this really cool, on trend, really quite abstract fault line cake, complete with Dalmatian print and painting and pastel effect on the bottom. And then I'm also going to show you how to make some Dalmatian print cupcakes as well, and using all your leftover buttercream to make these lovely rainbow ones too. So to start off with, I've got a turntable, an 8-inch drum. I like to use these white drums because I don't really like the silver drum showing. I've also got a small 6-inch drum, which is the same size as my cake. I've got a nice bowl of fluffy buttercream, palette knife, and some cake scraper. So if you've got a really tall cake, get yourself a really big one. If not, just a standard size one is fine. So I'm just going to start to layer this up. So I'm just going to pop some buttercream right in the middle of my drum there and stick that one on. I always like to have a drum underneath my cake because I feel like it makes the cake really round. So a little bit more buttercream on. And now I'm just going to start to pop my cake on. So I've got a nice sticky toffee cake here. You can download the recipe from my website if you'd like to know how to bake it. It's very good. So we'll spread a little bit of buttercream in the layers. I'm not going to put too much buttercream in because it's super hot today. So just a little bit in all the layers. We'll get it as flat as we can. This is going to be a super tall cake, I hope. Obviously, as you're building up the layers of cake, just make sure that you're stacking it really straight. And then we'll pop the last one on there. And now we are just going to spread some buttercream around the edge. This is called a crumb coat. So we're just going to add a crumb coat of buttercream all the way around the cake. And what that's going to do, sliding a little bit because the buttercream hasn't quite set. What the crumb coat is going to do is it's going to seal all the crumbs in the cake. So when we come to do our final layer of buttercream, it's going to be really neat and tidy, and it's not going to have any crumbs in it at all. So we're going to add just a rough layer all over. I'm going to have to keep shoving my cake in the middle. If you find that it is moving around and you're finding it tricky to deal with, you can always stack your cake and then pop the cake in the fridge just to set for 10 minutes. Okay. Lastly, we'll pop a little bit on the top. So you can see it's not perfect. We've added a really rough coat of buttercream all over the cake. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep my palette knife flat on the top and just go round the top and push that buttercream all over the sides like that. And then I'm going to take my scraper. I can just about use that one. I might go for the super tall one as it's a little bit easier. So I'm going to hold that against the drum at the bottom, and using this edge, so the sharp edge here, I'm just going to tilt it towards me slightly and just start to scrape all of that buttercream away. So I'm just going to keep scraping off my scraper. So just keep this clean of buttercream. You don't want to build up a buttercream on there. So you can see, you can just about start seeing cake through the buttercream now. And that's what we're after. We don't want it to be too thick because obviously our next coat is going to be really perfect, and that's going to be the thick layer. If you've got any gaps, you can just pop a bit more buttercream in and just scrape that again. But it does not need to be perfect, this layer at all. pop a little bit more on, we'll scrape it off. Make sure my cake is central as it's sliding around all over the place. Okay, that's fine. So one last thing to do before it goes in the fridge is hold your clean palette knife over the edge and just drag that into the middle. So first coat is done and ready for the fridge. So I'm just going to mix up some buttercream colours. So I've got some of my plain buttercream here. Just going to pop a couple of teaspoons in each bowl. I'm going to do 3 colours. So I'm using pink, peach and navy from Colour Mill. So I really like using Colour Mill colours. This is what I've just started using to colour buttercream, and I think it gives a great effect. It's definitely my preferred brand for buttercream colouring. So I'm going to do, like I said, some pink, some peach and some navy blue. I might not go full on navy blue, but I'm going to go pretty dark. And then a little bit of navy. So we'll just start to mix these up, and you can see they're very, very concentrated, but because they're liquid-based colours, they just colour through buttercream so lovely. There's no clumps of colour left at all, it's just a really smooth colour. Just a couple more drops in there. We've gone for a nice pastel peach, and then we'll go for a nice pastel pink. I love pink and peach together, especially the Colour Mill baby pink and peach. It's a nice combo. I'm running out of this pink, so I use it a lot. Okay, that's better. Nice shade of pink now. And now we'll just get this navy. I've not used this one before. So let's see. Oh, that's such a nice colour. Look how lovely that blue is. I'm just going to put a dash more in because I'd like it to be a little bit darker. So my 3 colours are all done. So now we're ready to grab the cake from the freezer. It's been in the freezer for about 10 minutes. And now I can start adding the buttercream onto the cake. So cake is all chilled. So we're going to start to add a really nice coat of buttercream now. So just softened a little bit more buttercream. And we're going to start to add a really thick layer around the cake now. We do not want to see any cake through this at all, so it wants to be really, really thick, which is perfect in this heat. You might notice that my buttercream is really white, so I've used some Wilton white icing colour just to take away some of the yellow tones. Just keep going using the back of your palette knife just to add a really thick coat of buttercream. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect because we will be smoothing all of this off in a sec, but you just want to make sure that every little space is filled. So cover that cake jar at the bottom, make sure that you've gone all the way around the top. And don't forget some on the top of the cake as well. You could use a piping bag to pipe this buttercream round if you wanted to, but that's up to you. I prefer just using my palette knife and save a piping bag. So it's all pretty much covered. I'm just going to go round and just take a look and see if there's any low spots on the cake. So if I can see cake anywhere, I'm just going to go and add a little bit more. Okay, so we're pretty much done. So I'm going to go ahead and just start to scrape all of this off now. This time, keep in your mind that you're not going to scrape it off. All we want to do is smooth it out. Now, I really like the ruffled edge on the top of the cake. I don't always do sharp edges on my buttercream. Sometimes I leave that ruffled edge. Today I'm going to leave it because I feel like it's going to match my fault line really well. So you can see I've just got a little bit of a gap right around the middle where it's a little bit low. So I'm just going to pop some more buttercream in there and scrape that off. Once you have got no more gaps left to fill, what you're going to do, clean off your scraper, hold your scraper around the back of the cake and your hand around the back of the cake so that you can do one complete turn all the way around your cake, and then it will leave it really smooth without loads of lines from your scraper. So this is done. Like I said, I'm leaving that rough edge around the top because I really like it. So this is going to go back in the fridge at least half an hour, or I'm going to pop it in the freezer for 10 minutes and that'll do the job. So I've got my cake from the freezer. I'm just going to snip off about an inch from the end of my piping bag, just so that we've got a hole here that's about a centimetre and a half in size. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pipe our fault line shape around the cake. So let's pipe this around. It's up to you what shape it wants to be. I'm going to go quite low and then I'm going to come up quite high. And then we'll come down again. So it's up to you what kind of shape you want it to be. And now all we're going to do is fill in the gaps. Okay, so I've got my shape there, I've got everything filled in. So all I'm going to do again is take my large scraper and we're just going to start to smooth that out. So bear in mind when you're smoothing out your fault line, it will spread it about and make it a little bit bigger than what you piped originally. So just make sure you bear that in mind. If you don't want to scrape it off, we are just aiming to smooth that out. Just keep cleaning off your scraper. We want it to be as smooth as possible. So again, I'm going to hold my scraper right at the back and my hand at the back and just do one complete turn all the way around. Okay, so I've got my rough fault line here. But now I want to start adding some colours into it. You could put this in the freezer or the fridge at this point, but I want my colours to blend in quite well, so I'm going to do it right away. So I'm just going to pop some little dollops wherever you want the colours to be. So I'm starting with my peach. I'm starting with my pastel colours because I don't want my navy blue to be really dark on the cake. I want my pastel colours to be the main colour. Just continue around the cake. I think I'm going to stop there and we're going to just have a little scrape off and see what that looks like. It will spread out loads more as you scrape the colour off, so bear that in mind as well. I just scrape the colour back in the colour bowl. Okay, so I'm going to go in with a little bit of my pink and just do the same again. If you want the colours to be a little bit more defined rather than blended in, you just need to pop the cake in the freezer or the fridge just in between each colours that you do. So that's done, so we're going to just go and scrape that off again. That's looking nice now. We've got some nice shades of colour coming through. Try and do like as big turns as you possibly can on the turntable because it's going to get your buttercream like really, really smooth. If there's any point where you feel like it's added a bit too much colour onto the cake, by all means, pop some more plain buttercream over the top and scrape again. So I'm only going to go for really small amounts of navy because I don't want this to overpower anything else. Tiny, tiny bits. Now I'm not going to go all the way around the cake with this one, I'm just going to smooth bits at a time and then clean off my scraper. Just keep cleaning off your scraper, that's really important to clean that off. Or else you just end up putting more buttercream back on the cake, especially in places where you don't want it to be as well. So let's have a good look. That's looking nice. We'll just go around again and just try and get it a little bit smoother. Okay, quite happy with that. So I'm going to pop that in the freezer again. I'm just using the freezer because it's quicker, so just for 10 minutes just to set, and then we can go on to some painting. So I'm just going to mix up some paint colours to create a Dalmatian print and a few effects. So I'm going to use Sugar Flare Black Extra. You can buy all kinds of edible paint. If you go to Cake Stuff and just search for edible paint, there will be so many that come up. But this is what I've got in stock, so I am going to use this one. So just using a cocktail stick, I'm just going to pop a little bit just in one of the sections on my paint palette, and I just add a drop of Rejuvenator to that, just to make it a runnier consistency, so it's just more paint-like consistency. and that's going to be much easier for painting now. So that's what I'm going to use for my Dalmatian print. Let's do lovely fuchsia pink, because you can't go wrong with pink, can you? So I'm going to pop a little bit in there, and we'll go for maybe let's go for peach, and then it matches the cake. So we've got pink and peach. Well, this is skin tone. It's probably my favourite peach. If it's a little bit too light, I'll go for Sugar Flare Tangerine Apricot. But we'll see what this one is like first. I've got an orange there as well, so a little bit of orange will work if the skin tone is a little bit light. And I've just used a little bit of fuchsia for the pink, and then I've used black extra obviously for the black. If any of these colours, if you are doing what I'm doing and using the Sugar Flare colours and they're a little bit too dark, what you can do is just get white extra and just mix a bit of white in them, and it will tone down the colour. Just a few drops in with the pink. Again, it will just make it a much more paint-like consistency. I am going to pop a little bit of white in here, just because that's a little bit too vibrant. Lovely, but a little bit too vibrant for my cupcake. So we're going to just darken that down a bit. But it's really easy to create paint. I'm sure you've all got Sugar Flare colours in stock and some Rejuvenator Spirit. So it makes it really easy just to make a paint, and then you can get cracking. Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit of lovely Dalmatian print. So I've decided that this is going to be my front. I really like this section here. So I'm going to do some Dalmatian print at the top. So I've just got some black paint on a number 2 brush. And if you really focus on being too perfect with Dalmatian print, it just doesn't seem to look as good. So all I want you to do is we're just going to add some splodges. Obviously vary them in size. You don't want to make them all round, because that's not going to look as it should. You might need to pop a couple of coats of black on, just to ensure it's a nice depth. This cake has also been in the freezer, because you need it incredibly set for any kind of painting. So this cake's been in the freezer for about 15 minutes, and the buttercream is really, really set now. Because I've got some on here, I really like symmetry, so I'm also going to add just a small patch of Dalmatian print down the bottom. And you can see, like, I'm really not paying attention to what I'm doing at all, because otherwise it's just going to look, too perfect, and we really don't want that at all. Can't decide where else to put any Dalmatian print, so I might just leave it at this for now, and we might carry it on in a little while, but we're going to do some different painting effects next. So I'm just going to use some white paint next and a really small brush, and where I've got a little bit of navy, I'm just going to paint some little arches. You can obviously make the navy a lot darker depending on how much you want it to stand out, but I want it all to be quite subtle apart from the Dalmatian print, which is why I haven't gone too dark with it. We're painting kind of like fish scales here, just lots of little arches, and it just adds a really nice little look to the cake. I found a painting on Pinterest and I was like, oh, that would be gorgeous on a cake, so my total inspiration for this cake is this painting that I found. So I'm just using some of my pink paint, and I'm just painting some little dots of pink going down in lines. Try not to overload your brush. Just small amounts at a time. Let's do some on the front section. I might just bring it round and do some more on this bit. I'm quite confident at painting on cakes, but if you don't feel confident with where to put things, you could just lightly score it with a cocktail stick just to mark where you want it, and then just paint over the top. Let's pop some down this side too. Like I said, my total inspiration for this cake was a picture that I found, and if you're not on Pinterest, go and take a look, because there is so much inspiration for cakes out there. Whether you're searching for pictures or wedding bouquets or colour palettes, there's so much inspiration out there for you to want to create a cake from that, so you should go take a look. So the last thing I'm going to do to finish off this cake is I'm going to take some peach colour and a really small paintbrush, and we're going to paint some arches over those lovely like little swirls that we did. They don't have to be perfect at all. They want to look like they've been painted on. Just going to take a little bit more of the black and just go over a couple of the Dalmatian Print just to make them a little bit darker. I just want to make sure they're a solid black colour. Just add a few onto the very top of the fault line as well. So I've just pressed my finger into a cup of water, taken off the excess so it's slightly damp, and then you can press that into the sprinkles, and you can see the sprinkles stick to your finger, which enables you to press it to the cake really easy. This is my preferred method. Obviously make sure you've just washed your hands. I'm going to just press a few sprinkles into the buttercream. Really abstract cake, right on trend with all the buttercream techniques, the painting and the fault line and the different colours. So I've got some nice white buttercream in a piping bag with a Gem 2D nozzle. This is my favourite nozzle to use. This is what we're going to use for this particular cupcake. So I've just added a flat top of buttercream onto my cupcake. You literally just pop a bit on the top and spread it out with your palette knife till it's flat. And now we're just going to swirl. So we're going to hold your piping bag down, just drop a little bit of buttercream out into the middle, and then you're just going to swirl around it. So you want to go nice and slow, keep up even pressure and even speed, and then when you can't fit another one on, you just stop squeezing and just pull away. And then you've got a really gorgeous rose swirl there. Once you've got that done, this can then go in the fridge. It just needs to go in the fridge for 10 minutes just to firm up the buttercream, and then we are ready to get painting. So I've just brought this cake out the fridge. It's been in for about 10 minutes. Also got some of my black paint left. So all we're going to do is paint it. I've got a number 2 brush, so we're just going to dip it in some of the paint, and we're just going to paint our lovely splodges on. If you feel like it's going too soft, which it will do in the heat, just make sure you put it back in the fridge again. But as long as it's not going too soft, you can paint away. Try not to get them too perfect because Dalmatian Print aren't perfect. So always make sure you turn it around while you're painting, and then you get it from every angle then. Easy peasy, right? So I'm going to show you how to do rainbow swirls really easily. So I've got loads of bowls with some rainbow buttercream mixed up. I've got blue, pink, peach, yellow and green. So I'm just going to pop these. I just use a spoon. A lot of people pipe it on, but I just think it's a total waste of piping bags and there's no need. So I'm just going to use my spoon and just pop it in lines on here. So we'll do obviously in rainbow order. So we've got green and yellow. Just try and put an even amount of each one on. So we've got some peach. These are the colours that was left over from doing the cake, from doing that cake earlier on. And then we've got some pink, just to pop on the end here. These are all done using Colour Mill colours. Pink, peach, lemon, mint green, and the blue is a little bit of navy. Not going to go too crazy with the blue because I don't want it to be too overpowering compared to the other colours. So just a little bit on the end. Okay, so once we've got our colours like that, all we're going to do with this is we're going to roll it up. So we'll roll that tube up there. And then if you take some scissors, and we're just going to chop the end off, because we need to expose all the buttercream on this end. So we'll take a piping bag. This is the nozzle that I'm going to use. It is a Wilton 8B, and it's a massive open star nozzle, and probably one of my favourites for rainbow piping. So pop that into a piping bag, snip a little off the end. Pop the nozzle in there. So just fold it back over your hand and then pick up your tube of colour, drop it in there. So just drop it inside the piping bag and you're ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do with rainbow piping is I'm just going to see how well it comes out. So I've just got a plate here and we'll just start to pipe. There's not too much pink coming through just yet. It's gorgeous though already, isn't it? We've just got some pink and some blue coming through now. Okay, so I'm really happy with now how that's coming out. So now I can take my cupcakes. Okay, so I've got my piping bag with my rainbow colours in, and we've got my lovely cupcakes. I've just topped these cupcakes with a flat top of buttercream. Literally just use your palette knife just to spread some buttercream on the top. And then all we're going to do is we're going to do a big rose swirl. So we're going to start right in the middle and then drop some out and literally just pipe around that centerpiece and then just stop squeezing and pull away. So we'll do another one. So pipe down in the middle and then just go round what you've done and then stop squeezing and pull away. So last one. Pipe down the middle, go round, and then stop squeezing and pull away. Just got some sprinkles from Super Streusel. They're lovely. Spilling them all over the worktop. But I'm just going to finish off just where I pulled that piping bag away, just with a little sprinkling of sprinkles. I don't want to go too crazy, which is why I've just chosen white and gold. I don't want anything too balmy on there. Oops. But it always just finishes it off nicely if you can just finish off that end bit with some sprinkles. So there we go, great abstract, super cool on trend buttercream cake. If you want to head over to my Instagram at Bleedle Bakery, I'll pop on my stories the inspiration where I got this cake from, so you guys can see, because like Pinterest is great for inspiration, so head over there and find something that inspires you, and you never know what you can create from it. So I hope you really liked it. Please come follow me on Instagram and give me some feedback and let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see, because I'd love to show you guys some more stuff. So yeah, and obviously at the minute you can't get wrong with anything rainbow print, anything rainbow design, sorry, and anything Dalmatian print. So I hope you found these useful as well, and much easier than what you think too. But yeah, see you soon.